1, 2, 3, 4. Occupation no more. Occupation no more. 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. Palestine will liberate. Palestine will liberate.
Well, that's a pro-Hamas rally outside a New York City synagogue. Critics are questioning the response from one top Democrat. Just days ago, Mayor Zohran Mamdani also revoked the city's anti-Semitism definition in one of his first orders of business. Let's bring in Corbin Trent, the former communications director for Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Matt Terrell, the former chief of staff for Marco Rubio's presidential campaign. Guys, thanks for joining us this afternoon. Matt, first to you. Part of this response here, it was a pretty quick and unequivocal response from a number of senior Democrats across New York who condemned this. Mamdani had to be asked at a press conference before he spoke on this. So do you think this is just a case of wasn't organized enough to get a response out, or did he really drop the ball here?
I think he dropped the ball here, but the truth is his delayed response was because many of these protesters are a part of Mamdani's political base, and they're members of the Democratic Party political base. This delayed rhetoric by Mamdani matches his record. His record relates to Hamas. Take, for example, on this very network, just a few months ago, Mamdani refusing to condemn Hamas. That's a problem for the Democratic Party right now because Mamdani and AOC are in the driver's seat right now for the Democratic Party. The power source in the Democratic Party are behind Mamdani and AOC, and part of their backers are, by and large, many of these pro-Hamas protesters. But what works in New York doesn't work in places like Ohio, Florida, and Wisconsin. As Democrats head into the general election here for the midterm elections, their position on Hamas, their position on Israel is a real challenge for them. And that's not just a challenge for them in 2026, it's a challenge for them in 2028. Expect that no candidate running for president in the Democratic primary for president in 2028 will be able to truly be pro-Israel. This is a major challenge. It's a challenge created by Democrats, and that's something they're going to grapple with heading into these elections.
Corbin, there's been tons of criticism of Mamdani, even going through the primary season. Isn't this the type of situation where he would want to dispel any questions and get right on top of attacking a pro-Hamas demonstration in front of a synagogue?
I mean, AOC and Mamdani both condemned it. AOC tweeted about it quite quickly. She's made her case pretty clear. She's made her stance pretty clear. And one of the things I find sort of strange about this is it's easy to say Hamas bad, right? It's a pretty widely held view. But then when you say, would IDF supporter chants be considered bad? The other thing that's interesting here is this was in front of a synagogue where they were having a land sale for the West Bank. Right. So they were selling stolen land in the West Bank. And that's what the core of the protest was about. And there was a handful of chanters, probably, some folks that were just there to cause trouble that were chanting pro-Hamas rhetoric. And I don't think that that's the brand that the Democratic Party is even promoting at all. Now, one of the things I think is funny is that you can see places like Tennessee and others where this sort of blank check for Israel to do whatever they want to do is actually starting to fade away. This is not just a Democratic issue. This is not just a Republican issue. This is an American issue where we're saying, what is this money that we're pumping in to Israel doing for America? What is all of this diplomatic support we're offering them doing for America? Why are we letting AIPAC run, so many billions and millions of dollars into campaigns? And people are starting to question that. I think not just in New York, not just in California, but in Tennessee, in Ohio, in Connecticut, in Iowa, and all over the place in Texas too. I mean, this is something that people are starting to ask themselves.
Matt, what do you make of that?
Well, the other panelists just said that it's easy to condemn Hamas. The bottom line is, if it's so easy, why didn't Mamdani do it on the campaign trail on this very network in an interview with Martha MacCallum? The bottom line is, for the Democratic Party right now, they have a base of supporters that are going further left. Part of that is this anti-Israel, part of that pro-Hamas wing of the party. And that is something that's happened truly, have been bolstered on the heels of the 2024 presidential election. After the 2024 presidential election, what the Democratic Party should have done was go to the middle. But instead, they're going further to the left. And they can't go to the middle right now. And the reason why is because the power source in the Democrat base right now is going further to the left. That is a problem for the Democratic Party going into these midterm elections and into 2028. Candidate quality is going to matter. It's not just about your issues that you run on or the policies you run on, candidate quality also matters. And the candidates that are vying for Democratic seats right now in these nominations and these fights in the midterm elections, they're in primaries right now for Democratic primary primaries, and that's going to be a real challenge for them to get through these primaries if they're taking a pro-Israel stance. The anti-Israel, pro-Hamas wing of the party is taking over the party. That's a real challenge.
You know, Matt, shouldn't there be...
I don't agree with that at all.
Well, I'll get to you. Let me just ask you this really quick, though, and you can respond to what Matt had to say there. But when you look at some of these protests ongoing, too, I mean, there is plenty of room between criticizing policy towards Israel or policy that the Israeli government enacts and being in the corner of or chanting for a repressive terrorist organization. And then on top of all of that, too, I mean, you've got some serious oppression going on in Iran right now, and the same corners here aren't saying a word right now.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the interesting thing, too, right? Where is violence available? Right. So we look at the protesters in Iran, and they're patriots. They're people that are trying to overthrow an oppressive regime. Here, if you have protesters, they should be shot in the face, and anybody that does it should have absolute immunity. So what's funny to me is, when is violence? When is protest? When is this all acceptable?
But isn't that the same though? Where's the protest against the regime that's killing people in the street right now? I mean, I don't see anybody at Columbia.
Well, they're doing those today, and it's called the ICE protests.
Well, but they talking about Iran at the ICE protest?
No, I think they're talking about the regime that's shooting people in the face. I mean, I think it's a very American idea to not want police forces to be able to shoot Americans indiscriminately. And the idea that J.D. Vance says is that they should have absolute immunity. You know, I thought this guy was a hillbilly. He had a book, Hillbilly Elegy. And I can tell you, hillbilly values, at least from where I'm from in Appalachia, are that the government ought not be able to have absolute immunity when they shoot you in the face. But maybe we came from a different Appalachia.
Okay, Corbin Trent, Matt Terrell, there's an investigation in that separate topic. We've talked about it before, and we will talk about it again in the next hour. Thanks for joining us, fellas. Appreciate it.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.